and viewers throughout the whole world, more particularly to all Shepherd's Rod believers, and most especially to our beloved brothers and sisters in the United States of America. Special greetings to our brethren in Colorado, to our brethren in Georgia, in Fiji Island, Mexico, Spain, in Africa, to the United Kingdom, and also in Australia, and to the rest of the 144,000 living saints scattered abroad. Greetings. May the good Lord bless you, brothers and sisters. This is our episode number 2 on the subject, Current Events That May Fulfill Prophecy. In actuality, my dear brothers and sisters, the occurrences, the happenstance that occurred on this earth is only a living manifestation of what is going on in the heavenly sanctuary. And that is why the Shepherd's Rod declared clearly in 1 PG number 51, pages 5 and 6, saying, if the church is not commensurably growing and expanding, then how can she be a living church? And how can she keep up with the signs of the times and with the progress in the sanctuary above? So, the signs of the times is only revealing the occurrences in the heavenly sanctuary. Now, for example, I would like to read Revelation 13, verse 8. So let's read. It says, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him whose names are not written in the book of life, in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So if the Bible declared all, meaning without exemption, according to the Shepherd's Rod, because that's what it means by the word all. Let me read to you 1 SR. It says here in 1 SR page 218, the biblical number 7 is used as a symbol, all. Therefore, the symbol does not exclude any, but means all. So that is very plain, brothers and sisters. So the word all does not exclude any. 1 SR page 218. Now, Revelation 13, the sea and the earth mentioned here are symbolical, not literal. And remember, the Shepherd's Rod plainly told us in track number 5, page 41, saying, for if every term is not symbolical, how shall we differentiate those which are from those which are not? And how shall we know by which to define the truth? Therefore, the earth and the sea mentioned in Revelation 13 must be symbolical and not literal. And the earth represents the United States of America, or the two-horn-beast domain. Now, going back again to Revelation 13 verse 8, it says, and all, without any exemption, all that dwell upon the earth, all of them, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world, all of them shall worship him. We know that the pronoun him is pointing to the devil or Satan. Now, I would like to read answerer number 2 on page 17. It says, conclusively, therefore, the kingdom church must be set up before the devil turns upon the remnant, those who are left behind and who are then being gathered, and against whom he wars for refusing to worship him in the person of the beast and his image. Answerer number 2, page 17. Now let us go back again to Revelation 13 verse 8. In this verse, by the eye of inspiration, we can easily discern that it must be fulfilled after all the names of the wicked in the Lamb's Book of Life were completely blotted out. And secondly, after all the names of the righteous dwelling in the symbolical earth the United States of America, the 50 states of the United States of America, all the righteous found therein, all their names were already inscribed in the Lamb's Book of Life. Because according to the verse, all the inhabitants, all the dwellers upon the symbolical earth, the United States of America, whose names were not written in the Lamb's Book of Life of the Lamb, all of them shall worship the devil in the person of the beast and his image. Now, I would like to connect to you Revelation 19, verse 20. It says, "And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image." Now, I would like to read to you the 18th message. Image to the beast. Let's read the statement. It says, "From the connection in which this is placed, a good many have been writing to me, and saying that all these things must come to pass before the image is made. That these workings and wonderful manifestations are the workings of spiritualism, and are to persuade the people to make an image to the beast." So that is the declaration of those people who send a message to God's inspired servant. Then it says, "It is important, therefore, for us to study the prophecy and see what it says, and as much as possible, what it does not say." So, there must be two things that we need to observe carefully. We need to study closely the Bible as interpreted by the voice of inspiration, what it does say, and at the same time, we need to study closely what it does not say. Now, let us read another statement. It says, "Someone told me the other day about another translation." It is Alonzo Jones, "The Image to the Beast." Someone told me the other day about another translation. Speaking of that, I do not know whether it is the Revised Version or some other, that reads, "The false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that had received the image." Elder D. de Bordeaux, so reads the Prince. The same thought is in this, that shows them that the miracles, the deceiving miracles that are wrought, are done to deceive them that had the mark of the beast. But do men receive the mark of the beast before the image is made? Under the message and the responsibility which the message brings, are men held responsible for receiving the mark of the beast and worshiping the beast before the image comes on and undertakes to compel them to do it? No, because we found in our lessons here that until the image was made, there was a way for escape from the worship of the beast. The way was open for a man to refuse, but after the image is made, there is no way open for a man to refuse to worship the beast, because there is no place on the earth where the power comes. There is no escape anymore. And then it is that men became responsible for worshiping either the beast or his image. There is no other way of escape. The only way is to turn to God. Then the time comes that the decision is clear-cut and must be made between God and the powers of the earth. So, now let us go back again, brothers and sisters, to Revelation 19, verse 20. The Bible made it so plain that those that had been deceived by the miracles wrought by the false prophet are only those people who already received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. So I would like to repeat again. The Bible says that those that had been deceived by the miracles wrought by the false prophet are those, according to the Bible, it says, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. And that is why we call it the spiritual side. It's very important. Who are they that worship the beast and His image, according to the Bible. All of them by which their names were not found written in the Lamb's book of life. Or in other words, the only way that you could be able to escape in receiving the mark of the beast and worshiping His image is to have your names written in the Lamb's book of life. Or in other words, the only power that you could be able to withstand, to refuse receiving the mark, worshiping the image, is through the power of the Almighty God. And that power will be bestowed only to all of them whose names found written in the Lamb's book of life. Because that is the promise in Daniel 12, to deliver them, all of them whose names found written in the Lamb's book of life. I would like to read first the statement in 2SR on page 116. It says, "The book of life is opened and examined by the saints, and in it they behold only the names of the righteous. The names of some who once appeared in it were blotted out, while the names of others were never entered between its pages." To us are page 116. So there are two classes of wicked. The wicked by which their names never entered into the pages of the Lamb's book of life. But there are also wicked by which their names once entered therein. It was inscribed, but later on, it was blotted out. So, of course, the righteous must be those whose names entered into the Lamb's book of life, and they had been able to retain their names in the Lamb's book of life. Now, let us read again the statement in White House Recruiter. White House Recruiter, page 11. It says, "And if the flying saucers are indeed the Lord's," so the shepherds had called it flying saucers. White House Recruiter on page 11. It says, "And if the flying saucers are indeed the Lord's, then what else are they come for but to deliver everyone whose name is found written in the book, and to slay those who oppress them?" Then the quotation is Isaiah 66, verse 16. "Or if perchance none of heavens are yet come, still nothing is more certain than that they hasted greatly when they will come." What is of first and supreme importance to each, however, is to know for a surety that His name is written in the book. To have this most blessed assurance, one must first know what will keep one's name out of the book and what will put it in. And we already explained that several times. If you want to have your names retained in the Lamb's book of life, then you need to accept the present truth. But if you will reject the present truth, then you allowed that your names in the heavenly sanctuary will be blotted out. So our attitude towards present truth is decide our eternal destiny. Here in 1 TG 31, page 8, it says, "There is no Bible truth plainer than this, and there is no truth as important at this time as is this truth. These are the very reasons that it either saves or destroys. To accept it is to have all your sins blotted out. To reject it is to sin against the Holy Ghost. Today, if you will hear His voice, harden not your heart, is God's counsel for you and for me. You will know now that this truth is irrefutable. Try and see for yourself. What truth that if you will reject is to sin against the Holy Ghost? Present truth." 2SR page 198. Now let us go back again, brethren, to our main subject. I would like to show us a very simple illustration here. We can easily understand, as the Bible stated. For example, this is the time that the false prophet will let fire come down from heaven and perform miracles, according to the voice of inspiration. The Bible says, "Who are they that will be deceived with that miraculous power performed by the false prophet?" It says, "All of them that had received the mark of the beast and had worshipped his image. So, before the false prophet performed miracles, the people already received the mark of the beast. The people already worshiping his image. And who are they that received the mark of the beast and worship his image? In Revelation 13:8. All of them whose names were not found written in the Lamb's book of life. Where? All the dwellers of the earth. And that is the symbolical earth. I would like to immediately place 50 states in USA. Then we can easily understand that all the righteous within the two-horned beast domain, all their names must be inscribed in the Lamb's book of life before the implementation of the mark of the beast system. Because when the mark of the beast system will be implemented, all whose names were not found in the Lamb's book of life will worship the devil, brothers and sisters. Then we can easily understand that the inscribing of the names of the righteous, of all the righteous within the United States of America must be completely finished before the implementation of the mark of the beast system. Now, I would like to read the Bible. It says here in Revelation 16, verse 1 and 2. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, Go your ways, and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth. And there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image. The very first vial, brothers and sisters, is poured out to the symbolical earth. The second vial is on the sea. It says, verse 3, And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea. Now, the shepherds had made it so plain that the sea is the old world. The earth is the two-horned beast domain, United States of America. Now, let us focus first to the first vial, brothers and sisters. The very first vial was poured out, according to the Bible, upon the earth, the symbolical earth, the United States of America. And it says, There fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image. Now let us go back again to Revelation 19:20. Who are they that had been deceived by the working miracles wrought by the false prophet? Who are they, according to the Bible? They are those who had received the mark of the beast and worship his image. Or in other words, when the false prophet wrought miracles and let fire come down from heaven, the mark of the beast had been already received by the people, and the people is already worshiping his image. Because that is very plain. The people that had been deceived by the working miracles wrought by the false prophet are those people with which they had received the mark of the beast and worship his image. Now, I would like to ask first the question. That working miracles of the false prophet and to let fire come down from heaven, unto whom it is directed? Who are they, the particular object in view? I would like to read this reading. It says, This miracle is wrought to prove to the children of God that they are wrong in keeping the Sabbath. So the miracle performed by the false prophet is directed to the Sabbath keepers. Now I would like to read again. It says, This miracle is wrought to prove to the children of God that they are wrong in keeping the Sabbath. This miracle is wrought as a deciding test, and it will be one of the very last things before the decree goes forth to put people to death. If not the very last before that, it will be one of the last. The contest will be between the powers of the earth and the Lord, between those who yield and obey the powers of the earth and those who obey the Lord. So according to the voice of inspiration, brothers and sisters, the the miracles wrought by the false prophet is directed to all Sabbath keepers to show to them that they were wrong in keeping the Sabbath. Now, I would like to read 2 SR 158. I would like to read this reading. Preliminary to that miracle-working power, Protestantism, Catholicism, and spiritualism will have grasped each other's hand by means of a church federation. The difference of opinion in doctrinal points will be considered of no vital importance to salvation. They will see in that apparently innocent union a great movement for the settlement of differences as well as for the conversion of the world. Now, first of all, why is it that Protestantism, Catholicism, and spiritualism will be urged to grasp each other's hand? It is involving the war. Now, I would like to read tract number 12. It says here, the statement given by the shepherd's rod here in tract number 12, page 55. A totalitarian overthrow of the democracy would endanger the continuation of nationalistic Christianity. To withstand this storm, the Christian governments will before long sit upon the beast, the predicted world queen, Babylon the Great. Then she will say in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrow. Revelation 18, verse 7. And in tract number 12, page 53, it says, current events that may fulfill prophecy. Because the boon of contention among the angry nations of today is the world's markets, and we know that is the reality. For example, United States of America, they placed a heavy sanction to Iran, to China, and also to the North Korea. It says here, brothers and sisters, because the boon of contention among the angry nations of today is the world's markets. And we know that when America placed a heavy sanction to Iran, the European countries were not in favor. And then it says, and because the churches are threatened by the totalitarian governments and thus urged to press together in order to preserve Christianity. So I would like to go back again, brothers and sisters, to SR 158. So there must be happenstance or occurrences that Protestantism, Catholicism, and spiritualism will be obliged to grasp each other's hand in order to preserve Christianity. We know, brothers and sisters, that, of course, the adversary of Christianity, first, communism, and second, the non-Christian world, more particularly to the Muslims, the Arab countries, by which Israel is the only Christian nation in the Middle East. And the shepherd's rod declared clearly that the greatest of all wars must be fought in the promised land. Now, I would like to read the statement in 2 TG 41, page 18. It says, just how this is to come about, I do not know. But I do know that the greatest of all wars is to be fought about the Holy Land. Then quoted Zechariah 14, verse 1 and 2. Brothers and sisters, shall we wait the material side before we will accept the message? I would like to read first this reading in 1 TG, number 19, page 3. It says, the fate of Jerusalem, the call of its future inhabitants. Zechariah 14. If you still remember, that is also the statement in tract number 5 when dealing the subject, the 42 months prophecy, right? I would like to read tract number 5 to remind everyone the word fate or the future. Now, here in tract number 5, page 111, and it is concerning Revelation 11, verse 2. Revelation 11, verse 2. But I would like to read 111. It says, the 40 and 2 months, allowing 30 days to a month, and reckoning a day for a year, Ezekiel 4 verse 6, represent the 1,260-year prophetic period, 538 AD to 1798 AD. But that is the groundwork. Revelation 11 verse 2, that is the time when the message goes to the great multitude, which no man could number. And in 2TG, I would like to read this reading, quoted the statement found in the card file of B.T. Hotep. So let us read. 2TG number 15, page 10. It says, it is possible that the 42 months of Revelation 11 verse 2 occupy an entirely different period of time than the 1,260 days mentioned in Revelation 13, for Jerusalem did not begin to be trodden underfoot in 538 AD, but was completely taken and destroyed in 70 AD. The holy city is still underfoot and will be until the Gentiles drive out the Gentiles, as predicted in Zechariah 1 verse 21. Not any part of the city will be underfoot after then, at which time the kingdom, the church purified, is set up there. The truth concerning the 42 months during which time the holy city is trodden underfoot by the Gentiles is therefore not completely revealed and had better be left alone until God makes it known. So this is very plain. Revelation 11 verse 2 is still unfulfilled. And secondly, it was not yet completely revealed by God to B.T. Hotep in his lifetime. But the shepherd's rod made it so plain. In 11 Symbolic Code, number 8, page 3, it says, the question has frequently come to Mount Carmel, since the subject of the 42 months was explained in the Symbolic Code, asking why the code has never said when the 42 months started and when the great earthquake of Revelation 11 is to take place. So the question is concerning Revelation 11 verse 2, the 42 months, and Revelation 11 verse 13, the great earthquake. Therefore, to help clarify these questions and to emphasize the fact that God has given us sufficient information to know the seasons, the study of Jonah and the people of God, which Brother Hotep delivered June 10, 1944, has been selected for this month's issue of the Symbolic Code. Then it says, it is true that just as the stork in the heaven knoweth her appointed times, and the turtle and the crane and the swallow observe the time of their coming, Jeremiah 8 verse 7, God has mercifully made available to His people the knowledge of the judgment of the Lord for this age, if they are willing to know it. And hoping that all of us are willingly willing to know it. He has not, however, seen fit at this time to make known the day and hour. He has told His people enough that they certainly need not be caught unawares as one being surprised by an unexpected thief. God has revealed the 42 months prophecy to us for no other purpose than that we be made to realize that we individually have no time to lose in cleaning ourselves up with the provisions He has given us. Second, no time to lose in getting our divinely appointed work done in the church. And third, and no time to lose in setting our own houses in order. When God's people need more information for their own good, the Lord will not withhold it from them. 11 Symbolic Code, number 8, page 3 and 4. So, first, the 42 months prophecy in Revelation 11, verse 2, and the great earthquake in Revelation 11, verse 13, was not yet revealed in the days of B.T. Hotep. Second, but all the necessary information concerning such subject were already written in the Shepherd's Rod publications. Third, that the principal reason why God need to reveal this very important subject First, that we be made to realize that we will not waste our time in cleaning up our own selves. And second, we will not waste our time to get our work done in the church. And third, we will not waste our time to let our own houses place in order or gather all our children in our own dwellings, plainly indicating that such promise of such revelation must be revealed during provisionary time. And if such prophecy at this time is completely revealed and understood, then the only safe conclusion is that our deliverance is getting nearer and nearer. Now, I would like to go back again to the reading. Track number 5, pages 111 and 112. So let's read again the statement. It says, the Gentiles here mentioned are those who tread underfoot the holy city, the church. An act which calls our attention to the Master's prediction concerning the fate of the saints during this 42 months period. And then it says, and they, the church, shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away from the promised land, captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down by the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Luke 21 verse 24. The time that the Gentiles go out of Jerusalem, and the Israelites go in. Then it says, the occupation of the promised land by the Gentiles today was typified by yesterday's Gentile occupation of it. And when ancient Israel returned from Egypt to the land of promise, the times of the Gentiles in those days were fulfilled. Likewise now, when antitypical Israel, the 144,000 guileless servants of God, are sealed and taken to Mount Zion, there to stand with the Lamb, the times of the Gentiles in these days will be fulfilled. Track number 5, 111 and 113. And we will study that subject, brothers and sisters, deeper and deeper, and hoping that God would help us. Now, I would like to read again 1 TG number 19. The same statement in track number 5, 111, saying, the fate of Jerusalem, the call of its future inhabitants. Now, I would like to read 1 TG 19, page 3. The fate of Jerusalem, the call of its future inhabitants. Then it says, in view of the fact, it is concerning Zechariah 14, verse 2. For I, meaning God, the Almighty God, for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. So, it is even pertaining more to all the Arab countries in the Middle East. It is God who will put into their hearts that all of them will be united to attack Jerusalem. And at that time, Jerusalem will become a burdensome stone. Now, let us read 1 TG 19, page 3. It says, in view of the fact that Jerusalem is to be protected by a wall of fire, Zechariah 2 verse 5, while the house of Judah reigns there, it is definite that the battle here described must be fought before the house of Judah is established. In that battle, the nations will defeat the rulers of the promised land. Then it is that the house of Judah commences to be set up. So in this reading, brethren, there are two absolute things that we need to consider. That at the time when this war in the Middle East, according to the voice of inspiration, it is just before the house of Judah is established in the promised land. And secondly, it must be at the time when the 144,000 are already completely sealed. The mere fact that this war will be fought, brothers and sisters, before the house of Judah is established in the promised land, plainly indicates that the house of Judah, which pointing to the 144,000 living saints, were already in existence, or were already, brothers and sisters, completely sealed. I would like to read to you the reading in 1 TG number 3, page 15. 1TG number 3, page 15. It says, here we are told that at the time the war is fought, someone is to be publishing inspired revelations of newly revealed truth, the truth of the judgment of the living, the which is to forever separate the wheat from the tares, the good fish from the bad, the sheep from the goats, the wise virgins from the foolish ones. There shall no more pass through the church, declares the scriptures. They are utterly cut off. Thus urging Judah, the church, to keep this antitypical atonement feast and to perform her vows to God, as to be found worthy of escaping the judgments of God. Hence, God's plea to His church is now ringing throughout the land, saying, awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city, for henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and unclean. Isaiah 52, verse 1. Now, of course, there is no other atonement except the Day of Atonement. And in this reading in 1TG number 3, page 15, it says, thus urging Judah, the church, to keep this antitypical atonement feast. I would like to read track number 14 on page 22. It says, therefore, only as they awake and give heed to the voice of the true witness, and turn their steps toward the gates of the kingdom, may they ever hope to participate in the divine eventuality. O Judah, keep thy solemn feast, perform thy vows, for the wicked shall no more pass through thee. He is utterly cut off. The feast mentioned here is inscribed in plural form. And since it is in plural form, what are those specific holy feasts directed by that predicted event in Nahum 1 verse 15. I would like to read verse 1TG number 24 on pages 18 and page 19. It says, what is the overall purpose of Nahum's prophecy? So what is the overall purpose of Nahum's prophecy? First of all, the revelation of the prophecy must be before the fulfillment of it, because it is illogical, and not only illogical, out of value, if the revelation of the prophecy will be after the event. And track number 2, page 12, it says, never has this symbolical prophecy been understood by any people, and never could it have been fulfilled and not been revealed. So that is the divine principle. Never that such prophecy will be fulfilled and it had never been revealed. So the promise in Revelation 1 verse 1 saying, I will show unto thee those things which must shortly come to pass, plainly indicating that it must be revealed before its fulfillment. Now concerning the entire book of Nahum, it is pointing to World War II. Let us distinctly separate Zechariah 14. In Zechariah 14, the reason why all the Arab countries surrounding Israel will attack Jerusalem indicates clearly that it is God who put into the hearts the same with that statement in Revelation 17 verse 17. In order to agree each other, God put into their hearts. For the Bible is very plain. Zechariah 14 verse 2. I will gather all nations, meaning without any exemption. But the nations mentioned there is all non-Christian nations. All of them will be united to attack Jerusalem. That is very plain in Zechariah 14 verse 2. And we already explained clearly, and we will explain it in detail in the subject when World War II will be resumed. That when such war in Zechariah 14 will be fulfilled, the 144,000 living saints were already completely sealed. Or in other words, probation closed to the church. The sealing of the 144,000 is finished. Now, let us read again. 1 TG 24, pages 18 and 19. It says, what is the overall purpose of Nahum's prophecy? It is to enlighten God's people of the signs of the times. It is to enlighten God's people of the signs of the times. That is the overall purpose of Nahum's prophecy. And if you will read 1 TJ 51, the signs of the times is connected to the progress in the proceedings in the sanctuary above. Let us read again, 1 TG 51, pages 5 and 6. If the church is not commensurably growing and expanding, then how can she be a living church? And how can she keep up with the signs of the times and with the progress in the sanctuary above? In track number 15, on page 5, it says, the seven seals, the signs of the times. So what is the signs of the times? The seven seals. And in 2SR 187, it says, the seven seals and the sanctuary. 2SR 187, it says, the seven seals and the sanctuary. In order to make a proper application of the seven seals, we must have a better understanding of the heavenly sanctuary service, its origin, and the object of its existence as taught by the earthly sanctuary built by Moses. Hebrews chapter 8 verse 5, in the sanctuary construction and service is revealed the plan of salvation. So, when we are talking about the signs of the times, we are talking about the subject of the seven seals. And it utters the impossibility that you could be able to make a proper application of the seven seals unless we have a complete understanding concerning the entire proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary, according to 2SR page 187. Or in other words, through the knowledge given by God concerning the entire proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary, it will reveal itself the fulfillment of Nahum's prophecy and the reason why God commanded His people, urging everyone to lay hold on the Lamb of God, which is Jesus Christ, come to the sanctuary, confess your sin, in order to secure our lives, that the statement in 1 TG 3:15, thus urging Judah the church to keep the antitypical atonement feast in order for them to escape the oncoming destruction, we need to be very certain that our names will never be blotted out. Because once our names will be blotted out, there is no more remedy. Our hope completely gone. Now, I would like to read again the statement in 1 TG 24, page 18 and 19. What is the overall purpose of Nahum's prophecy? It is to enlighten God's people of the signs of the times, to make them aware of the great and dreadful day of the Lord is at hand. The purification of the church, the judgment in the house of God is soon to take place, that the wicked shall not much longer be in their midst, that the redemption of the righteous is at hand, that they must not fail to perform their God-given duties. The statement is very plain, to make them aware that the great and dreadful day of the Lord is at hand. What is the great and dreadful day of the Lord? By which that is great for the righteous, but dreadful to the wicked. That is the blotting out of names. Of course, the great and dreadful day of the Lord on earth, that is the day of slaughter. Great for the righteous because they will be delivered. Dreadful to the wicked because they will be slaughtered. But that is only the material side. Brothers and sisters, that is only the material side. Once your names will be retained in the Lamb's Book of Life, then you will be delivered. Once your names will be blotted out in the Lamb's Book of Life, then you will be slaughtered. So that is only the material side, brothers and sisters. So to repeat again, the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Here in White House Recruiter, it says, page 29, in other parabolic terms, that the great and dreadful day of the Lord is His casting out the bad fish and putting the good into vessels. Matthew 13, verse 47 and 48. So that is the great and dreadful day of the Lord, when the wicked will be taken out. In the heavenly sanctuary, that is the Day of Atonement. So Nahum 1 verse 15, first, the holy feast mentioned there is first pointing to the Day of Atonement. And second, pointing to the Passover feast, brothers and sisters, that only those who will participate that divine eventuality will be delivered. And how could you be able to observe that holy feast unless the Bible calendar must be restored first? So that is very important, brothers and sisters. Now, I would like to go back again to our subject and analyze closely. First of all, the Shepherd's Rod says that in 1 TG 24:19, saying that they must not fail to perform their God-given duties. What is God-given duties in Nahum? Keep thy solemn feast. So there must be a message urging everyone to keep the solemn feast. Now, the most important part at this time, first, pointing to the coming Day of Atonement on March 27, 2021. In Bible calendar, that is October 10, 2022. And wherever you are, brothers and sisters, keeping God's commandment is the same with keeping the weekly Sabbath. Wherever you are, you can observe the weekly Sabbath. The same with the Day of Atonement. Now, I would like to read Consecrated Way to Christian Perfection. It says here, the cleansing of the sanctuary. Consecrated Way to Christian Perfection, 115. The cleansing of the sanctuary and the finishing of the mystery of God are identical as to time and are also closely related as to be practically identical in character and event. So when the sanctuary is completely cleansed, indicates that the mystery of God is finished. The mystery of God, which is finished, cannot be construed that it points out to the general clause of provision. But rather, the mystery of God is pointing to the unfoldment of the plan of redemption. And accordingly, it is identical. Now, I would like to read to you Lessons on Faith on page 102. And this is the mystery of God today and forever. God manifests in the flesh, in human flesh, in flesh laden with sin, tempted and tried. In this flesh, God will make manifest the knowledge of Himself in every place where the believer is found. Believe it and praise His holy name. But I would like to go directly. It is the 144,000 because they are the one who will finish the mystery of God. I would like to read 2 TG, number 15, page 8. It says, the measuring of the worshippers is in reality the numbering of them. And so you see that following the Seventh-day Adventist movement, there is to be a numbering of its people. And as there is but one numbered company, the 144,000, the first fruits, Revelation 14 verse 4, the servants of God, Revelation 7 verse 3, it follows that they are the ones who are numbered, who escape and also who are sent to the nations. Yes, they are the ones who finish the mystery of God as they bring all their brethren out of all nations. Revelation 7 verse 9, the second fruits. Who are they that finish the mystery of God? They are the 144,000 living saints. So the statement, in every place, here in Lessons on Faith, page 102, in every place where the believer is found, can be easily understood. In every place where there is a member of the 144,000 living saints, this mystery of God will be extended to them wherever they are. And then it says, this is the mystery which today in the third angel's message is again to be made known to all nations for the obedience of the faith. This is the mystery of God, which in this time is to be finished. Not only finished in the sense of being ended to the world, but finished in the sense of being brought to completion in its grand work in the believer. This is the time when the mystery of God is to be finished in the sense that God is to be manifest in the flesh in every true believer, in every place where that believer shall be found. This is indeed and in truth the keeping of the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. But the very first statement saying, this is the mystery which today in the third angel's message. What is the third angel's message? In the great controversy, 435, Christ's mediatorial work in the heavenly sanctuary. that there must be a people by which they were highly privileged, as stated in 4 BC 11:39, to see by faith what is going on in the heavenly sanctuary. So that is the statement. Now let's go back again to Consecrated Way to Christian Perfection. 113. The cleansing of the sanctuary. The cleansing of the sanctuary and the finishing of the mystery of God are identical as to time. So since it is identical as to time, they run side by side. That during the judgment for the living, while we are going into that predicted time, when all the names of the wicked will be completely blotted out among the congregation of the living, on that very day, at the same time, the complete plan of redemption, or the plan of redemption, is completely unfolded. And then it says, I would like to go to the next paragraph. The finishing of this work of the sanctuary and for the sanctuary was likewise the finishing of the work for the people. For in that day of the cleansing of the sanctuary, which was the day of atonement, whosoever of the people did not, by searching of heart, confession, and putting away of sin, take part in the service of the cleansing of the sanctuary, was cut off forever. Thus the cleansing of the sanctuary extended to the people and included the people as truly as it did the sanctuary itself. And whosoever of the people was not included in the cleansing of the sanctuary and was not himself cleansed equally with the sanctuary from all iniquity and transgression and sin, was cut off forever. Consecrated Way to Christian Perfection, page 113. So that is pointing to the blotting out of names, cut off forever. In the Shepherd's Rod, the term used is the destiny is forever fixed. Track number 15 on page 28 and page 29. It says, in the typical atonement, everyone's destiny among the professed people of God was forever fixed. So after March 27, 2021, the irrevocable decision will be pronounced. He that is holy will be holy, and he that is righteous will be righteous, and he that is filthy will be filthy. Forever fixed. And what a glorious day for such name that had been retained in the Lamb's Book of Life. And that's why I love so much that statement in, I think, in track number, I would like to read, track number 1 on page 46. It says, brothers and sisters, gladly endure the trial of your faith, knowing that it worketh for you a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. 2 Corinthians 4:17. That indeed your accepting the truth and obeying it is the only thing that will forever ensure your membership with the redeemed in the church eternal, and that the only book that is ultimately worthwhile having your name in is the Lamb's Book of Life. You see, brothers and sisters, the only book that is ultimately worthwhile having your name in is the Lamb's Book of Life. Track number 1, page 46. That is the only book. And what a blessed assurance. So I would like to read again, track number 15, page 28 and 29. In the typical atonement, everyone's destiny among the professed people of God was forever fixed. Those who complied with the demands of the law were left to live, and those who did not were cut off from among the people. Thus, it must also be in the antitypical atonement. In the typical service, only those who had come before God with confession and repentance, and whose sins, through the blood of the sin offering, were transferred up to the sanctuary, had a part in the service of the Day of Atonement. So in the great day of final atonement and investigative judgment, the judgment of the first 2 sittings, the first sitting that is pertained to the dead, and the second sitting is pertained to the living. The time to separate the tares from the wheat, the bad fish from the good, from among both the dead and the living. The harvest. The only cases considered are those of the professed people of God. Those who have at one time or another accepted the call and have the right to be clad in the wedding garment. Thus the question, if the judgment first begin at us, What shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God? 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 17. So that is very plain, brothers and sisters. And to repeat again, the occurrences on this earth is only the living manifestation of what is going on in the heavenly sanctuary. Now, for example, Revelation 13 verse 8 completely reveal that when the mark of the beast system will be implemented, of course, first in the United States of America, then all the country throughout the whole world will follow to lead her example, according to Volume 6, page 18, and Volume 6, 395. But the mark of the beast system will begin such implementation in the United States of America. But at that time, when the mark of the beast system will be implemented, all the names of the righteous within the United States of America were already inscribed in the Lamb's Book of Life. Because the only people that will worship the beast will receive the mark and worship its image, according to that reading in Revelation 13 verse 8. All of them whose names were not found in the Lamb's Book of Life. We would like to show to you a short illustration in that diagram, and we'll continue to our next episode. So let us project that diagram, brothers and sisters. So in this diagram, although we'll explain it on the next episode, without any doubts, the implementation of the mark of the beast system in the United States of America would be on October 29, 2021. I would like to repeat again. The implementation of the mark of the beast system in the United States of America would be on October 29, 2029. How do I know this? Because of the proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary. Or it might be after, because in October 29, 2029, all the names of the righteous under the symbolical earth, the 50 states of the United States of America, were already inscribed in the Lamb's Book of Life. It was already inscribed in October 29, 2021. So it might be October 30, 2021, or October 29, or immediately after all the names of the righteous had been inscribed in the Lamb's Book of Life, or on the following day. But for sure, the mark of the beast system will be implemented not before October 29, 2021, but it must be either October 29, 2021 or onwards. And we will study that, brothers and sisters, on our next episode. And also, if you are willing to study concerning when World War II will be resumed, which is no longer far distant, brothers and sisters, we invite you to watch all our videos. So thank you very much for listening and viewing this program. May the good Lord bless you and have a beautiful, wonderful evening.